I'm Tammy Mastroberte, and I'm the founder of Elevated Existence and Elevated Existence magazine. And also I work with overwhelmed and busy people to learn how to tame the chaos in their life and connect with spirit no matter how busy and crazy their life is. So if you want more information on taming the chaos in your life, go to tameitclass.com. Now I am here because I want to share with you 3 books that I have found really sort of changed things for me and helped me move forward on my path. So I was brought up Catholic, and I went to Catholic school through 8th grade, and that was my faith, and that was sort of the foundation of my faith for years. And what happened was I eventually sort of started turning away from that faith. The biggest change in my life came when I was 22, and I lost my mother to a sudden brain aneurysm. And I wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about this because I was recently, I submitted the manuscript for my book that's coming out next May about uncovering signs and synchronicity from the universe and loved ones on the other side. And I talk about this in the book. So what I wanted to share with you is that it was my mother's death that sort of catapulted me into the spiritual world that I am part of now and the belief system that I'm part of now. And I think that's what happens to so many of us, right? Like when you go into, maybe whatever you were brought up with, whether you were brought up with a religion, maybe you weren't brought up with any type of belief system, it depends, but it doesn't matter. The point is that as we sort of go through our life, a lot of the times there's something major that happens to us. There's a death, there's a divorce or an end of a relationship, there's a health diagnosis where all of a sudden our life sort of opens up and we're looking for more information. We're looking for more meaning. We're looking for more understanding. That's what happened to me. So my mother's death sort of catapulted me. I was 22 years old, and it catapulted me into understanding more. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to understand more about what was going on and where she was and what happens now and what am I here for and all these big questions. And for me, what happened was I went to a medium. The medium that I went to was George Anderson. He's still practicing today. We went to Long Island, New York to see him. We booked an appointment with him, and it really opened everything up for me, you guys. And I was somewhat skeptical. I was somewhat skeptical before I did it. But I said, well, everything was done through the mail. Nothing was done on, on the computer. There was no PayPal or anything like that. This was she died in 1999. So this was 2000. So I didn't believe a lot of the stuff, but I said, you know what? I'm going to go. My sister wanted to go, and he kept showing up everywhere after my mother died. And my mother had known about him because he had published a book before that. So all these synchronicities had lined up that led us to him as the person to go to. And we wound up going, and but I lied on everything. So sorry, George, I love you now, but I lied on everything. So I put somebody else's email address. Or not even email, I put a friend's home address, another friend's work phone number, just lied about everything. And I said, well, this way he can't trace anything, he can't find anything. So that's what I wound up doing. And we booked the appointment and we went. And it was an hour appointment. I still have the tape. Completely blew my mind and changed my life. And I knew at the end of that there was more and that I needed to know more. So the first 2 books I want to tell you about are by George. And the first one that I read, that I even read before I went to go see him, because it was the book that a friend had brought to my mother before she died. And it was called Lessons from the Light by George Anderson. Beautiful, amazing book. I highly recommend that. And then years later, then I started reading all different books by him, or there's books about him. And so that's what really sort of catapulted me. And the second book that I read by him, and I believe it came out maybe a year or 2 later, which is why I didn't read it right away. is called, and I highly, highly, highly recommend, if you have lost a loved one and you are in that state of sort of grief and looking for more information and looking to understand more, I highly recommend his second book called Walking in the Garden of Souls. And I'll see if I can go back into this post and link for you guys to these books, but it's called Walking in the Garden of Souls. It literally explains to you what he learned from 20 some odd years at the time of doing the work as a medium, what he learned from the souls on the other side, who were basically sharing, you know, what it's like for them there, all the questions that we have, the souls were answering. So Walking in the Garden of Souls, I remember reading it again years ago, maybe it was a couple years after my mother died, with a pen, just highlighting stuff. Like, blew my mind, this book, Walking in the Garden of Souls by George Anderson. So I highly recommend those two books. Those were really what catapulted me into sort of more of a spiritual viewpoint than a religious viewpoint. I just sort of started opening my mind to different things, and it just changed my entire perspective on life, on death, on what happens after we die. So I want to share those two books with you because they are both amazing. Fast forward as my life went on, years later, and again, I talk about all this in my book, but it's not out till next year, so I want to give you all this info now. Years later, I was still searching, right? Still sort of searching for a belief system or something that I could grasp onto that was not the specific belief system that I grew up with. And I said a prayer one night to my mother, to the universe, to God, saying, you know, I need some kind of direction. I need to know where to go next, what to do next, what I can believe in or what I can bring with me. And what I did was I went to sleep that night, and then I woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't sleep. So I flipped on the TV. And when I flipped on the TV, they're staring at me. And again, this was years and years and years ago, is Dr. Wayne Dyer and his special, The Power of Intention. And again, it was the middle of the night, flipping through the channels, PBS had it on. And I just remember listening to him and thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know what he's talking about, but he's making sense to me. Like, this guy is resonating with me. And so I immediately ordered the book that he was talking about, The Power of Intention. And then my whole life truly catapulted into the spiritual world. He actually led me to Deepak Chopra. Deepak Chopra led me to taking a retreat in New York City called The Power of Perfect Health. And I learned meditation, and I decided I wanted to work for myself, and boom, 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 I wound up starting a magazine. So those are the three books that really helped me form sort of the basis for where I am now and the spiritual beliefs that I have now. So I wanted to share them because I feel like they're still so relevant today. It doesn't matter that they were, 18 plus years ago or something like that, back in 1999 and 2000 when I was reading them. So again, it's Lessons from the Light by George Anderson, who's an unbelievable medium, and I recommend you looking into him and his information. And then also Walking in the Garden of Souls, which is the second book that I recommend even more than the first book, because it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book about the information that he's received. And it's not just a bunch of readings. Like, the first book has a lot of readings that he did with people, but this book is really, the second book is really informative about what it's like on the other side. So if you want more information on that, I recommend that. And then the third book, like I said, is Wayne Dyer's The Power of Intention. Amazing. And many of you have probably read it, but for those of you who have not, I highly recommend these three books to help you on your own path, right? Because again, I talk about taming the chaos, and I talk about taking breaks and getting more breathing space in. And these books, when you sort of have a solid foundation to go on, you have less anxiety, you have less depression, you have less fear and less worry if you can sort of tame some of the chaos in your life and set that foundation for yourself. So if any of this is resonating with you, if any of this is making you think, oh my gosh, I could use that, I get no kickback on any of this. I'm just sharing these books with you because they truly made a difference for me. And so I know you wouldn't be here if you weren't on your own spiritual path. And I know you have chaos because we all have chaos. We all have drama. We all have a million things going on at once. And so I just want to share this with you to help you in your own life. And again, I recommend all three. They're beautiful, amazing, fantastic books. Read them with a pen because you will be underlining them. So I just wanted to get on here and share that with you today. I hope one or all of these books resonates with you. If you want more information on taming your own chaos, go to tameitclass.com, and I will see you back here next time when I go live.